Welcome into episode 63 of the Two Pad Stack podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and we've got a fun surprise for everyone listening today. I know it's been a couple weeks and we've been off. I hope everybody listening had a wonderful holiday and a great Happy New Year. But we're back. Two Pad Stack is back, and we're a trio now. Ladies and gentlemen, the triumphant return of Burge the goalie. He has decided to grace us all with his presence once again. And he's back on the Two Pad Stack. So welcome back, Burge. Alongside me today is Burge, obviously. And then our additional host. We're a trio now. It's not just two here at Two Pad Stack. We're the trio of Two Pad Stack now. Jake Reiser is alongside me as well. Jake, how are you doing today, buddy? Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. I'm hanging in there. I just got back from vacation, so my brain is still kind of on vacation mode. My body's on vacation time, but
Nice.
getting back into the swing of things. I hope you guys had a great holidays and a great New Year as well.
Absolutely. What about you, Burge? How you doing, buddy?
Dude, it's good to be back. I know it's been a while. Took a nice little break for the summer, I guess we'll call it, but it's good to be back. I can't wait to talk shit to you. It's one thing that's been missing from my life these 6 months. Now I'm excited to get back into the swing of things with you, and love what you guys are doing in my absence. So looking forward to being a three-way from now on. It's always better with three.
I like the way you said that. I will tell you that I have had multiple people inform me that they love Jake and he's doing an awesome job, but Jake agrees with me and I agree with Jake too much. And we need to have somebody in here that just disagrees with everybody. And that's really where you fall into things. It's just really pissing everyone off. So for the entertainment factor, you're very welcome back and we're glad to have you back. So can't wait to hear some of your dumb takes today.
I'm definitely not here for my looks. I'm definitely here to be the contrarian. So can't wait.
You got a face for radio and podcasts, my friend. That's for sure.
I don't even have a voice for podcasts, so got that going for me.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to go through. When you miss 2 weeks, and the Bruins don't really miss that many times, that many days, we got a lot of hockey to kind of break down. So right off the bat, last week, we're not really gonna go too far into it here. We're just gonna kind of take a step back 1 week ago. Started off with a 3-1 loss at home against the Washington Capitals, and the Bruins are coming off a pretty strong performance against the Capitals at. I think they were.
Actually,
at
was
home.
that on the road? I might.
That game was on the
road.
road.
On the road.
That was on the road. Yeah, for sure. But it was really just kind of a frustrating game in one sense and still kind of reassuring in the other, as far as I'm concerned. I think Jake and Burge, one thing that I liked about it is that I do think that the Bruins did a good job mitigating a lot of the offensive chances against in this game. Granted, that was certainly reciprocated tenfold by the other team. So what were your kind of initial thoughts on that game, Jake?
They get to be one of the teams that doesn't give up a goal to Alex Ovechkin on his historic run to probably eclipsing Wayne Gretzky probably this year with how torrid he's been. But it for a team that feels really hot in Washington, it felt like such a low event game. That Brazeau goal was early and felt weird.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know. Something felt very touchy about the game all the way around.
Yeah, it just felt like. It felt like Sacco had his fingerprints all over it from the defensive systems, but we just didn't get the offense that we needed to have generated to really do anything. I mean, the notes here that we have, offense where, I think that's a great synopsis of what was going on with this game. There was no offense. The only goal that the Bruins got, which you were alluding to, Jake, was off a freak bounce off the Karen behind the net that went out front, and Brazeau had a quick little tap-in goal. And other than that, there was nothing really to be found. I mean, the Washington Capitals are a great team this year. I don't necessarily think that they're probably the caliber that they've been performing up to. I think that they're probably punching above their belt. I mean, you can look back on what Jake and my predictions were at the beginning of the season. Neither of us looked tremendously favorable upon the Washington Capitals. But obviously, they've got a good thing going. Spencer Carberry, is that his last name? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Spencer Carberry, the head coach of the Washington Capitals, he's really got them bought in, and it seems like they're all kind of rallying behind Ovechkin and his, quest to eclipse that Gretzky record. And they're doing the right things. They're systemically across the board, forwards and defense, playing the game the right way. And I would say probably that stellar defensive effort that the Bruins had against them before was really, I mean, it was only, I think, their 9th regulation loss in the entire regular season so far. So they were able to quickly get back to form and play Washington Capitals hockey to hand the Bruins a loss, and it was going to be the first of a few here that we're going to talk about today. Any other thoughts on that game, Jake or Burge?
It just seems like it's par for the course with this team this year with, the lack of scoring. It's and we're going to talk about it as we go further into this week here. It's kind of the same problem.
Yeah. Jake, you already had a note. You had a note in there saying discipline issues again. You want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Just penalties upon penalties upon penalties galore, and you give up a power play goal to Jacob Chikrin that ends up being the game-winning goal for Washington. But Kastelic with the high stick, McAvoy a slashing. Granted, it was a matching. Zadorov again, Carlo again, Coyle, just like stop going to the box, stop giving these guys opportunities, even if your penalty kill was decent enough. Like, just stop giving the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the Bruins are, I think, still the most penalized team in the entire National Hockey League, and doesn't look like that's going to be a trend that's going to change anytime soon. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when you stop moving your feet, that's when you start taking minor penalties. And what really hurts me, and you hear it in broadcasts all the time, Andy Brickley says it all the time, the penalties in the offensive zone, those are the ones that really just chat my ass. And then
you know what also sucks about that loss to Washington?
What?
That they had come off of a really great 4-0 win against Columbus. And you thought, okay, let's carry some good momentum into the end of 2024. Let's head into the new year feeling really good. I know it's a toughish matchup, but at least go feeling a little bit better that they had done a really good job on a 4-0 shot at win against Columbus that previous Saturday, and just bupkis.
Yeah, it was rough. Happy New Year's to all Bruins fan with that New Year's Eve game. So, next up, Bruins are going to be on the road, and they're going to go, who better after a rough game against the Washington Capitals to play than the hilariously underperforming New York Rangers, to the point where they've already traded former second overall pick Capo Caco out to the Seattle Kraken. They are just, the wheels have fallen off in Broadway. The blue shirts are in disarray. Kreider's rumored to be available still. A lot of fans of the blue shirts are mad at Mika Zibanejad and that albatross of a contract. It's just not good times with the New York Rangers. So what do you think? The Boston Bruins could come in there, bounce back from a pretty tight game, but a loss altogether against the Washington Capitals. They'll go in there and score a few goals. I mean, they're not even going to play Igor Shesterkin again. You're going to play against the 75-year-old Jonathan Quick. That's a recipe for success, you'd think. Nope. 2-1 loss to the New York Rangers. And I surface level analysis of this game, I think that the Bruins were definitely the better team in this game. I do. Obviously, being the better team doesn't always get you a win in the National Hockey League, and this was a situation where they didn't. I think Jonathan Quick played out of his mind this game. He had 3 or 4 highlight reel saves. I mean, he was like channeling 2012 Jonathan Quick, I think, in this game. He was just just sicko mode in that. And I love to see it personally as a goaltender appreciation person. Like, it was so fun to watch. And I'm like, motherfucker, why couldn't you have done this against another team? So Bruins lose again, 2-1. What were your thoughts on that tilt, Jake?
Again, how do you make a team that looks so bad look so good? It's in my notes that the defense looked brutal, especially on the Zibanejad goal. It was Zadorov and McAvoy both on the ice, who ended up crashing into each other and then just kind of looking like giraffes trying to get back and get in the coverage. And it's just absolutely miserable. I'm having such a hard time watching a team like this when the talent individual, like you look at Charlie McAvoy as an individual player and the caliber of player he is, and it's just not there this season. It's not there for so many of these guys, where that you just look anemic against a team that's frankly draining blood on their own at this point. It's just sad to watch.
It's crazy to me to think that the Bruins could make Jonathan Quick look like Vezina winning, Stanley Cup winning Jonathan Quick from a decade ago. And it seems, in my memory from years past with the Bruins, they have a tendency to make these bad teams end up looking good at some point throughout the season. And this seems like this was just a case of that. Elias Lindholm scores the only goal for the Bruins in this one. you remember, Ace, when we were talking about this in the offseason, like I was beating the door down to get Elias Lindholm here.
Yep.
And it's nice to see him get on the score sheet here, but he has not lived up to what my expectations were going into this season.
No, but what Bruin has lived up to any expectations this year?
Nobody. I mean,
Top to bottom.
Swayman had some big expectations coming in with the big contract extension, being number one. He's been a shell of himself. Don't even get me started on that. You don't even want to start talking Swayman with me.
About that. We will talk about that today. I think we should. I will also shout out my wife, who is sitting down and watching Bruins games with me, and she's just completely turned against Jeremy Swayman. She's like watching these games.
Everybody should have listened to me.
She's like, you're so selfish. You're a little piece of shit. You wanted to go get the money, and now you got the money, and now you're gonna play like shit. Blah blah blah. I'm like, yes. Spit your shit, sister.
I really liked your wife before. Now I love her. I love her saying that stuff. Love it, because she's echoing everything I said to you in the last year and a half about him.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I don't think the Bruins made a mistake, and we'll continue breaking down these games here and also the Rangers game specifically. I don't think the Bruins made a mistake going with Swayman over Ullmark. I mean, Linus has done a pretty good job on Ottawa, but now he's hurt. He's an older goaltender, right? And he was putting together, Vezina caliber stats for the last like 7 or 8 games for the Ottawa Senators, but he goes down. Bruins made the right choice, but Swayman he needed to have that full offseason and that full training camp. And I'm not entirely convinced that's it either. I think kind of that mental pressure of knowing that you have to battle for that number one role really made Swayman shine. And now that he's been that anointed number one guy, Korpisalo's not going to knock him off that pedestal. He's not. He never was going to. So Swayman is the guy. He doesn't have that anxiety. Am I going to lose my job? No, you're getting paid $8.25 million. The Boston Bruins can literally not afford to let you lose your job. You have to play that many games. So who knows? Back to the Rangers game. What really kind of chapped my ass also, that's the second time I've said that.
I know.
Saying. It's one thing, like, I thought that the Rangers are going to be a good team this year. So maybe this was just a game that the Rangers were going to use to parlay into some good momentum. No. Very next game, they go and play the Washington Capitals and have their doors blown off 7-4. Like, that's what also got me frustrated. I'm like, why the hell can we not score at least 4 goals against this New York Rangers team? We should have, based upon the opportunities that were generated on the ice.
Because at this point, we're basically fielding like one line and then a bunch of scrubs. And I'll get into that when I talk about my studs, but
yeah.
Oy vey.
Yeah. All right. So let's keep her going. Any closing thoughts on the Rangers game?
Just get me out of New York at this point.
Well, we'll be back soon enough. Oh no, that's at home. Never mind. Damn it. Okay. I'm getting all my wires crossed. You can tell I'm out of it here.
Yeah, we'll be back February 5th. I think it's the last game before the big All-Star Four Nations face-off break.
Four Nations face-off. So then the Bruins continue on the road, and they're going to go face another Original Six opponent. Our good friends, the Toronto Maple Leafs, which the Bruins always play the Leafs good, right? I mean, there's some regular seasons where the Leafs maybe have the edge over the Bruins, and then the playoffs happen and the edge goes away because that's just how it works. In spring, Leafs fall. So Bruins are on the road in Toronto. They give up a goal pretty early on in the first. It was a really nice play by Willie Nylander to find Jake McCabe going up the back door, and not a defenseman that I usually associate with scoring efficiency or prowess, but he sent that thing. There was a snipe show right over the shoulder of Jeremy Swayman. It was just a gorgeous goal. It was so quick in and out of that net that I thought maybe it was like, did that hit the post? Did that not go? But no, it was in and out. Beautiful shot. And the Leafs are up 1-0 and up and running. And all those suits from Toronto that have to spend $900 US just to get into the arena were just having the time of their life.
I'm just shaking my head. If you're watching me on this thing, I'm just shaking my head at, are these Toronto Maple Leafs for real finally? Like, we've said this for years, but is Craig Berube actually making the Toronto Maple Leafs a legitimate enough team to where we can say, okay, they'll probably win the division and they actually will win? Like, not to facetiously say they'll win a playoff round, but like they'll probably win a playoff round.
I think so too. And you know, another thing that I think will go a long way toward that is that they're not just grabbing washed up defensive defensemen to try to plug those holes where they really have had holes historically. You know, they don't have a Mark Giordano on age 41
Mhm.
like logging big minutes. You know, they've got Tanev, who's a little older, but he plays the game the right way, and he's like a stereotypical bottom four defenseman. And they have guy I just mentioned, McCabe, who is like 25 years old and plays really, really good, solid defensively. And that allows Morgan Riley to be much more proactive in creating offense and being that true modern, you know, two-way defenseman. So I think that this is probably the best built Leafs team I've seen in a long time. So it's no surprise to me that the Bruins ended up not getting it done. The Leafs have always had a really, really elite offensive group. It's always been mitigating the goals against for them. That's been a problem. And I think that they're built better to do that this year than what they have been in years past. And that's going to lead to a 6-4 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Matthew Nyes getting a hat trick. This is going to kind of tie into what I'm going to talk about later. It's pretty cool when you let a young kid get a bunch of ice time and develop at the NHL level, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, sucks. Congrats on your first career hat trick, Matthew Nyes. I doubt you listen to the Two Pad Stack Pod, but if you are, good on you, buddy. Well done.
Also, the little bit of controversy about Austin Matthews before the game that there were some rumors that he was going on LTIR, that he was severely injured, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm playing tonight. I was feeling good on my last couple of skates. It was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess you're playing against us.
Yeah, that hair plant healed the hair transplant he got healed really quick, dude.
What a
Got
swing.
back from Turkey just in time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I will say that, you know, one thing about this game that I think was a positive for me is that we saw David Pastrnak return to the score sheet in the scoring method. It was his first multi-goal game of the season for David Pastrnak. Something that sounded shocking when I read that. I'm like, wow. Like, usually David Pastrnak has a multi-goal game on like game 2 of the season, and you know, we're coming up on like halfway through the season here, and he still hadn't done that yet. So he collected 2. One was I don't want to call it garbage time because he still made it a 1-goal game with about a minute and a half left before they secured another empty netter. But it was good to see David Pastrnak. I actually thought it's not just his shooting or in his scoring. I actually thought that he looked more engaged than what I've seen him previously this season. I think his skating looked better. I'm wondering if whatever's been bothering him, which it's no secret that he's been battling something for a long time this year, if not all year. He looked like he was, you know, on the mend, and I think that's going to roll into the next game that we're going to talk about too. Any other thoughts on the Leafs tilt?
I mean, you're not wrong. I think Pastrnak is nursing something. He's absolutely got something up with him, but good for him again. And again, it feels like the weird puzzle piece is the way I describe golf. You have a bunch of puzzle pieces and you can never put them together at the same time. When your defense is playing really well and you're not giving up goals, you're not scoring. When you can score 4 goals in a game, you give up 6. Like, you're just not putting everything together all at once.
Perfect analogy. Perfect analogy right there. Comparing that to golf.
Either way, I suck. Basically, is for golf for me.
Me too. Me too.
I play pong golf, dude. I go from one side of the woods to the other. Like, I just if I leave the golf course with the same amount of golf balls that I came in, that's a win for me. That's a good day.
Hey, I'm a lefty, man. I'm aiming as far right as I can to play my slice because I can't.
That's what I do too.
To save my life.
I go far left because I'm gonna go way up to the right every single time, dude. I'm like, I'm so worried I'm gonna hit some old woman like in her house or something next to the golf course.
Oh my god! You just hit that guy. Should have been standing there.
Right? Shout out to Happy Gilmore 2, officially in production, coming to Netflix in 2025. I'm excited to watch that too.
I just got my mom to watch it for the first time, actually.
No
she seemed pretty entertained.
That's awesome. I got that on the TV for my older daughter. I think my younger daughter's still a little young for it. So
yeah,
we'll get there. So yeah, also cool note about that Leafs game before we move on. That was the first time the Bruins have scored a 6-on-5 goal with the goalie pulled. They have not done that yet this year. So they get that, even though it didn't end up doing anything for them. So maybe some of the special teams is starting to wake up. Yeah, actually, I'm going to change my dud, Jake. I'll bring it up later.
All right.
Hopefully, I don't steal it from you. Burge, we don't have studs and duds from you, but you can pick one when we get there. Up to you. No pressure. Moving on. The Bruins played back-to-back. They were at home. TD Garden crowd. Got to see them host the lowly New York Islanders. So just like the Rangers, wow, here's a great opportunity to bounce back and get back in the win column, because Joe Sacco's had a pretty good record so far as interim head coach. And I'm sure that the Bruins have enough pride and leadership in that room to rally back and get back to where they need to be. Go Bruins, woo! And yeah, that didn't happen. A 5-4 overtime loss at home against the New York Islanders. And it all started off so good. Bruins get the goal in the first period. TD Garden is jumping. You have Patrick Waugh on the bench doing his serious face. I'm not worried. When in reality, he really should be worried. And maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he shouldn't, because the Islanders go down the other way, and the Bruins play some of the worst 5-on-5 defense I've ever seen in my life. And they just score 2 goals just like that, and they go to the rim at the end of the first period up 2-1 against the Bruins. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, how are we letting the Islanders generate these chances? It was mind-boggling for me.
So I just watched the most recent Behind the Bee that came out. And it starts with the Philly game at home that we won in overtime. And it starts with Sacco going in the room in the second intermission and saying, you guys are letting this team walk all over you, and we haven't even played our game yet. We haven't even gotten on our gear right now. Play 20 minutes of hockey. Like, that's all it is. But you guys are letting them dictate the entire pace of play, and you guys haven't even shown up yet. And this is going to be an easy game. I told you guys this wasn't going to be an easy game, and you guys aren't stepping up to it right now. I don't know what was said in the locker room, but you guys aren't stepping up to it. You guys have to change your mind and your mindset right now. Any excuses have to be taken off the table. That's exactly what this Islanders game was to me. That, we scored quickly. You let the Islanders walk all over you for 40 minutes. And then you somehow pull it out of your asses in the last 15 minutes to make this a tie game. And then, the result of that game is the result of that game. And we can talk about that overtime in a second. But they let the Islanders walk over them for probably 35 straight minutes between the beginning of the first-ish to the end of the second period. I thought the Bruins just looked awful for the most part.
And this thing with them getting run over like that and showing up late in the game, that seems like that has been this team's identity for years, where they don't show up for the first two periods. They show up in the third period, and in the past they were able to squeak out these wins. This team isn't talented enough to be able to do that, even against the New York freaking Islanders.
Yeah, your legion of fourth liners aren't going to get it done for you, and
Exactly.
you really need a bunch of goals in a burst. Like, David Pastrnak can't score 6 goals a game. It would be cool if he did, but he's not going to. And believe it or not, going out and getting cast off, former first round picks that can't get it done at other organizations, they're not going to show up in Boston and be a magic pill either. We'll talk about this later on. I still think that I think Oliver Wahlstrom should stay in this lineup, but I think that the Bruins need, if they really want to do anything this year, despite or other than just squeaking into the playoffs and losing in 5 or 6 games in the first round, they need to get somebody that moves the needle on the forward side of things. So either it's via trade or you get Poitras to move back up and play at an NHL level again or something like that. They need to make a change, because right now you can't rely on that top line, and that second line isn't doing anything for you. That third line is meh. Fourth line is cooled off immensely from where they started off in the season. Like, they need to do something to shake it up personnel wise. So power play, just dog water, so goddamn bad. I think it's one of the league's worst power plays. It looks like it. They can't string 2 passes together in the offensive zone. They just absolutely make it. They broadcast to everybody what their intentions are going to be before they even do it. Pasta's sitting in the circle waiting for his one-timer that's never going to come because it's always covered. The rest of the players aren't skilled enough to work around that and to generate other plays in the bumper. Lindholm is not Patrice Bergeron. He can't make those plays happen in the bumper. This power play is just cooked, and it's immensely frustrating for me that it doesn't seem like any adjustments are being made for this team. Right now, they just keep rolling the same unit out. They're running the same systems out. They're like, oh, surely it's going to change this time. Like, I don't know what the hell Chris Kelly is thinking running this power play. And if you don't know, Chris Kelly is the specialist in charge of running the Boston Bruins power play. I had heard that for a while, and it was confirmed by Joe Sacco on Behind the Bee, I think, recently. Frankly, I don't know why that is still even his responsibility at this point. I don't know why they haven't made a change on that internally. Even if that's straight up firing Chris Kelly, which would suck because he won a cup with us in 2011. He's an alum. Maybe we're tired. Maybe we need to stop this old boys club crap and bring in some fresh views and perspectives. We need Don Sweeney and Cam Neely to, stuff one and get somebody else from outside the org to come in and run the power play. I don't know, but this is it. I'm fucking fed up with this power play.
It's like the understatement of the century. I'm fairly sure they had David Pastrnak playing the bumper at one point in the game against the Islanders too. Like, what are we even doing here, fellas?
Yeah. Asinine. I don't get it. Yeah, like go ahead.
I was just gonna say your Twitter feed has been very, very fun to follow along with the whole Chris Kelly dilemma.
Oh, just get rid of him. Get rid of him. Bruce Cassidy was right when he tried to punch him.
Ooh.
I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if you heard about that. I don't know if I don't have it absolutely confirmed, but somebody that I know said that was the big reason why Cassidy was let go. It wasn't how he dealt with kids or whatever. It's that he took a swing at Kells.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Pretty funny. So yeah, we'll talk about overtime. So Bruins fight back, which is great. We can have a morale win there. Boston Bruins down 4-2 going in the third. They crawl in tooth and nail, fight their way back and tie it up. Hearts of lions, like Jack Edwards would say, and Pasta with another 2-goal effort, back-to-back multi-goal efforts from David Pastrnak. And they've got all the momentum in overtime. Beautiful shot, save Sorokin, shot, save Sorokin, shot, save Sorokin. And then here comes Brad Marchand down the wing. Game's on his stick. Tied for most overtime goals in Boston Bruins. I think he might even be leading now. Regardless, it's on his stick. Game's on his stick. He shoots. Saves Sorokin, and that rebound goes right past him. And who's sitting there but Bo Horvat? And do you really think that 36-year-old Brad Marchand is going to be able to catch up to Bo Horvat on a breakaway? Survey says, All right, Shirley Corpusalo, you haven't faced a shot all overtime. You can handle this. You can back us up here. You can bail us out, right? Boston Bruins strength, goaltending. Survey says again, squeaks through. I don't know if it was 5-hole or 6-hole underneath the blocker. I think it might have been underneath the blocker, and it just trickles in the net slowly, painfully, dreadfully. And the Islanders, with their one opportunity they had in the overtime, they get it done, and they take home the dub. They are I think they were the 6th place team or the 5th place team in the Metropolitan Division. And they beat the Bruins on home ice.
Watching back on that overtime goal, it's just a lack of cognizance that they're very focused on their offensive chance. They think it's an on-man rush. They just don't know that Anders Lee has made the change and Bo Horvat is coming in behind him. So they've got basically a cherry picker sitting in the neutral zone, coming in, just waiting to see what happens. And I'll give a ton of credit to Elias Sorokin for that kick save. He knew exactly where Bo Horvat was. So that kick save with his pad was a giant rebound, went straight out towards the boards and right over to Horvat to take that puck up, and away. So a huge credit to him for that assist. That's really smart, but a ginormous lack of awareness for the Bruins, especially someone like Marchand, to be like, okay, I need to put this in a place where he can't make a great kick save or something, or even shoot high. If he's going to shoot high, it's a lot harder to use your blocker to make that kind of a push all the way out. Then maybe the puck sits along the boards and you can keep possession, or Horvat at the very least has to come back down into the defensive zone more, and it lets your defense recover. It's the fact that he shot low, shot right into his pad. Sorokin knows, okay, I can use all that power in my leg to kick that out to Horvat, and it's game over.
You make that shot when you know you have a trailer or a winger on that side that's going to be there to corral that rebound, to stuff it in the empty net. That's the only time you make that type of effort, and obviously Brad didn't do that.
Yeah, and I will also say, like Jake said, shout out to Sorokin for playing a pretty good game. I mean, the Bruins still got the better of him quite a few times, but in that in that overtime, he really stood on his head. He was really, really sharp. It was impressive. So, any other thoughts on the Islanders game before we move on? Nope. All right.
Other than Sorokin being a Vezina caliber goaltender, that's what you get when you have that guy playing.
Yeah,
you get that type of performance to steal the game.
Which is honestly
digging holes also that you can't pull yourself out of, and that feels like, again, that's the theme of the season.
Yep. Just like what Burge was saying earlier, for sure. I just, shout out to Sorokin. I know we've said this a few times now. I know a lot of Islanders fans. I've got a buddy who's an Islanders fan, and they've been down on the Isles a while and down on organizationally how they've handled Sorokin. There's been rumors that they had a strength and conditioning coach that came in and was pushing Sorokin to bench more than he had ever benched, and then that fucked up his back, and that is what has been holding Sorokin back from his previous Vezina caliber production that was going on.
What do you need to bench like an incredible amount being a
goalie?
goalie?
Like, what are you doing? It was either squatting or benching or something like that.
Squatting I can understand, but like benching, like, come on.
Yeah. So strict speculation, but that's from an Islanders fan that I heard that, and there was talk of like the guy that was a strength and conditioning coach got fired and stuff immediately after that happened, and good stuff there. So, so overall, those games, let's just kind of recap and take away, right off the bat, first number one thing that's going to just kind of rear its ugly head at all of us as Bruins fans. No wins so far in the new year. 2025, they are 0-2-1. And is that worth being alarmed about? Is that cause for an alarm? Is that just sometimes how it works? Where is your level of concern for both of you for this team right now moving forward?
I'm on high alert. I'm on such high alert about the way things are feeling. Like, I'm not at DEFCON 1 yet. I'm not like tear it all apart right now, but I'm at DEFCON 2. I'm at DEFCON 2 on this. Like, I'm really close to just wanting to set this team on fire. Watching this team right now feels like such a Sisyphean task. You're pushing that boulder up the hill, and it never gets any easier. It doesn't feel easy to watch the Bruins this season. It's not. I can't kick back and go like, this is the team that I know we're going to kick their ass, and they do kick their ass. It's like watching the Pittsburgh Steelers play. The Pittsburgh Steelers either play up to their opponents if they're good, or they play down to their opponents if they're bad, and it's always frustrating no matter what. And that is the 2024-25 Boston Bruins, and I'm so sick of it, and I just don't know how much longer I can hold on.
I personally am trending towards thinking this team is not going to be a playoff team. Or if they are, they're going to be an 8 seed. They're going to be right on that bubble come the end of the season in April. And, Don Sweeney, Cam Neely, and the upper management is going to have to get to a point over the next month where they're going to have to decide what path are they going to take. Where do they see this team going? Because the trade deadline looms. In the past, we've been all like, let's buy. Don't worry about the picks. Let's just support the team that's on the ice. And no doubt that's what Charlie Jacobs and ownership want. They want that first round playoff money. They want that money when you look at it from the ownership standpoint. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about organizational health, they're going to have a real big decision to make in a month. And I don't feel great about it.
I don't think anybody should.
Yeah.
Jake, do you have them making the playoffs?
No.
You think they'll
no.
miss?
Even if they did, they get the crap kicked out of them.
Yeah.
If they do, it's not because they're good. It's because the rest of the East is going to fall behind them. But frankly, Tampa's played 5 games less than us and only is 3 points behind us. I think that they might make some of that ground up. And frankly, the Metropolitan has better quality at this point. You look at Washington with 55 points, New Jersey with 51, Carolina with 50. Then it kind of drops off a little bit, and maybe you barely get lucky to cling on to a wild card spot there. But still, I just feel so. I feel like you're screwed right now. If you're a Boston Bruins fan, anything right now, you're just screwed.
I got to shout out the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Ottawa Senators for mirroring the Bruins losing streak right now. The Lightning are over there in California playing what's supposed to be some of the worst teams in the league, and they can't find a win to save their life. They've lost to the Sharks. They've lost to the Ducks. What are they even doing over there? Like, thank God, frankly, as a Bruins fan, because even if they're going to get their ass kicked, I would still prefer to see the Bruins in the playoffs than out of the playoffs. I do think that they will get it cleaned up and probably scrape in as a wild card or maybe Atlantic 3. But it's so funny because Tampa Bay is ready to take that spot in the Atlantic, and they're shooting themselves in the foot, and I love every moment of it. So
I'll just say this: the regular season is about getting to the dance. Anything can happen in the playoffs. We've seen 8 seeds go the distance. You never know if they're playing the right kind of hockey at the right time. You never know what can happen. So if they get in, it may be more than one round. They may surprise us. Who knows?
Yep.
I'm going to take some conjecture a step further as well. Regardless of whether they make the playoffs or not, the quality of play that this Bruins team is showing us right now does not give Joe Sacco the head coaching job. I think they go look somewhere else. 100%.
Well, I mean, also he's the built-in fall guy, right?
Yep.
If they miss the playoffs, we didn't actually have our new coach in style, so they're in the position there. So, I don't actually have to hold myself accountable. I'm not responsible. I'll say I'm responsible for it, but I'm not actually. So I can go get another coach, and we can run it back again next year.
We weren't comfortable doing the coaching search. Yeah, we wanted to take a look at external candidates, and we didn't feel like it was the time to do it.
Yeah. Yep. So that way I can buy myself more time as the general manager of the Boston Bruins. So, all right, let's take a break and recognize our sponsors for this year. We're going to jump over there, and then we're going to come back and do Studs and Duds.
This season, the Two Pad Stack podcast is proudly supported by 2 fantastic local businesses. First, we're going to give a shout out to Earth Eagle Brewings, where great beer meets great company. With locations in both Portsmouth and Somersworth, New Hampshire, Earth Eagle is something for everybody. Whether you're relaxing in their Portsmouth beer garden or enjoying live music and trivia at the Somersworth pub, you'll be in good hands with their craft beers, epic hot dogs, and much more. And don't forget, if you're into brewing your own beer, their homebrew shop has you covered in Somersworth. And when it comes to tattooing, there's no better place than Vital Ink Tattoo in Barrington, New Hampshire. The artists at Vital Ink are all about turning your ideas into tattoos you'll love forever. The team works hard to make sure every visit is comfortable, and their dedication to making your tattoo experience fun and relaxing is unmatched. Whether you're getting your first piece or adding to your collection, Vital Ink is the place to go. Special thanks to both of these sponsors for supporting the Two Pad Stack podcast this season. Be sure to check them out and show them some love.
All right, we're back. Studs and Duds. So, Burge, I'm sure you've been listening to every one of our episodes regularly as a number one fan of the show while you haven't been able to contribute. So everybody knows this by now, but each one of us are going to pick our stud of the week or weeks because we've been off some time here. And a dud for the show. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My stud of the weeks, mainly week, is going to be David Pastrnak. And that's because, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I've seen a return to normalcy for David Pastrnak. He's not looking like that 60-goal scorer that we saw a couple years back, but he at least is putting multi-goal games together. He's put 2 in a row. That's some good positive momentum that he can build on, and he can really kind of get that monkey off his back a little bit and stop thinking he's David Krejci out there trying to make Morgan Geekie look like an elite sniper. Take the shot, David. Take the shot, buddy. You got the shot. Take it, buddy. So David Pastrnak is going to be my stud of the week. I'm going to give you my dud, and then we'll jump over to Jake. Jake will keep you on your toes here to see if you're going to be prepared. So my dud, actually, I can see who yours is. Never mind. I'm not taking it. That's yours. Okay.
There you go.
Mine is going to be Don Sweeney. because I really think that this team needs an injection of skill. And I really was in support of the claim of Oliver Wahlstrom because he brings a dynamic that I don't think anyone else in this team has. Wahlstrom is a lethal shot and different than David Pasternak's shot. I think David Pasternak's shot is more deceptive than anything. He's never going to really beat a goalie with like a howitzer of a shot. Wahlstrom's shot is 98th percentile in the NHL. So I really think that it can't be just a guy like that. We've got to get more skill injected in this lineup. And, you know, you've got to look at what the kids are doing down there. You look at Lysell, who's producing regularly. That one game wasn't enough from him. He needs more games than just one to prove that he deserves to play at the NHL level. Matthew Poitras is killing it down there in Providence. Throw him on the third line center. Let him play with, you know, Oliver Wahlstrom. Let him be a puck distributor and put it on a guy like that stick. Like, we need to do more here, and just running the same personnel and not making roster component changes. It's just super disappointing for me. And Don Sweeney, you are my dud of the week/weeks.
Poitras has
Jake.
8 goals and 10 assists in 21 games in Providence. Vinny Lettieri has 12 goals and 20 assists in 33 games. They're both point per game players down there. How are you not calling either of them up? It's absurd to me.
Yep. It drives me nuts. Any thoughts on either of those two, Bersh, that you want to jump in and talk about?
I mean, I'm with you on Don Sweeney. I mean, this team clearly needs a breath of fresh air, a breath of life, something to change what's been going on. Jake just listed the numbers for you. Why not bring these kids up to give them a shot? We've been saying this for years with the Bruins about them not letting the kids contribute. And this seems like a perfect opportunity to do it, but they're not.
It's not just this front office either. It just seems to be built into this culture and this team identity. Like, it goes back to Chiarelli and Claude Julien. Like, this has always been a thing that they've been so hesitant to put these kids, even when I frankly think that some of these kids deserve a shot.
I totally agree with you. And we've been seeing this organizationally for as long as I can remember. And, you know, it's hard to point at Cam Neely, Don Sweeney, because it has existed prior to them. So is it an ownership thing? Is there some weird dictate, order from the ownership to prevent this from happening? And really, I'm dumbfounded by it, because every year we're calling for it and every year we don't get it. So it's like something eventually will have to change. Something will eventually have to change. Maybe missing the playoffs this year, we will get the change that we've been calling for years when it's come to this, outside of maybe the record-breaking year and last year. But like, everybody's been calling for Don Sweeney's head for a long time.
I mean, Pats fans were calling for Mayo and they got it. So who knows? Maybe if we're loud enough, you know.
Hey, Robert Kraft is a fan first. Charlie Jacobs and the Jacobs only care about is their wallet. You know that.
I will say that I think Charlie Jacobs is much more fans first than what Jeremy Jacobs ever were, considering he lives in the city and stuff. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt once the old man croaks. We'll give him a shot and see how he goes before I completely turn against him. But let's go over to Jake. Your studs and duds, my friend.
All right, so if we're calling it studs of like the weeks that we've missed as well, I'm kind of editing mine. I was going to talk about a whole line, but I want to narrow down on one specific player.
Okay.
And that's friend of the podcast, Morgan Geeky.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
He's finally looking like the player I've wanted him to look like this season. He's putting goals in. He's playing smart hockey. He's been the beneficiary. Yes, we've said that, or you said that earlier, of Pastrnak kind of wanting to be David Krejci-esque and feeding him. But even beyond that, in the last couple of games, he's still putting in the goals. I think he's either just shy or just hit double-digit goals on the season. He's looking confident. He thank God his Twitter, I guess, finally worked for him, that he said, like, just keep watching. And, you know, he's lived up to his word. Just keep watching. And he's playing really good hockey. And he's honestly, I think he's been the most consistent player in the last month and a half, straight up. I think his game has been a hot and consistently hot. So thank you, Morgan Geeky, for making this team at least somewhat watchable. You're my stud of the last couple of weeks.
Well deserved. And the one thing that I think about Geeky is that he really seems to have simplified his game, and he's not being afraid of using that shot. He also has a really high shot percentile. It's not 98, but it's still, he's got a cannon when he actually fires that thing. So if I'm Joe Sacco, now that I'm a grizzled hockey coach myself, I know how this works. You just tap him on the back and you say, "Hey, kid, just get out there and just send that piss missile. Just fucking fire it." That's what I would do. And I'm sure Joe Sacco's doing that and it's working.
That game-winning power play goal on December 21st against Buffalo, you got Pasternak coming into the zone, flying down the wing, and he makes the drop pass to Geeky, who just rips that one-timer into the net. Like, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
6 to midnight.
Mm-hmm. So
I was sporting a half chub when that happened. I was like, whoa! It was excellent. Excellent. All right. So yeah, Geeky is Jake's stud of the week/weeks. And then on the negative side of things,
the irony of a power play goal is saying that as a stud, the dud has to be Chris Kelly for running this power play unit into the absolute fucking ground. Like, look, Kells empirically seems like a very good human being. I've heard nothing bad about him as a human otherwise. But are we approaching Mark Recchi territory here where it's just not working out on the coaching side? Recchi started to bounce from team to team to team. I know he played in the Heroes reunion game at Warrior a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think Recchi's coaching right now. At what point do you just give up and say, like, look, I've done all I can and it's not working? So, Kells, it's not working for me.
it's not you, it's me, Chris.
Mhm.
It's time for you to go. We're done. I mean, honestly, though, look back at it. Look at Chris Kelly. What kind of a player was he in his NHL career? Did you ever see him on the power play?
Defensive grinder, PK, all the way.
Think of like Manny Malhotra type player, like face-off specialist, fourth line center.
He was a fantastic penalty killer.
Great PK player.
Yep.
Maybe you should have him coach the PK.
Agreed. Yep.
Not something that he doesn't fucking know. Like, it drives me nuts. Like, get him out of here. The guy doesn't know what to do with the PP. You can read that whatever you want to read that as. Like, it's asinine. I am so frustrated with it. Like, get him out of here. Like, bring in somebody that actually has. We've talked about this before. Jake and I have talked about this. Burge and I have talked about this. Put somebody that knows how a power play is supposed to work in charge of the power play. I don't think that's too alien of a concept. Like, if I'm starting a business, I'm not going to go, if I'm starting a brewery, I'm not going to go find a baker to run my brewery. Like, they don't know how to run a brewery. They've never been in a brewery before. They've been in a bakery. Let them run your bakery. Like, what are we doing? Drives me nuts.
This might sound stupid as a power play concept, but frankly, it's the only thing I can think of that's working right now with the personnel that they have. And I don't know why they're not running a power eye, why they're not putting a giant body like Brazo in front of the goaltender. He's a guy who this season has done a very good job of cleaning up dirty goals. We've seen it over the last couple of weeks. Why aren't you just putting him right in the crease, letting him Sean Avery his way into a couple of power play goals, or at least screening so that way your guys can make cross-seam passes that, aren't being read by goalies quickly. That's the only thing I can think of that was working or could work, and I haven't seen it yet. They're still so focused on having that guy down on the goal line, play in Gretzky's office, try and control, try and switch up the ice that way. It's not working.
Reminds me when the Bruins power play was so bad back, I think it was during the Julien era, and they just parked Zdeno Chara in front of the goalie. Do you remember that?
It was so bad.
That was the end of the Julien era when we knew it was just fucked.
Yeah.
Dude, the 2011 Stanley Cup run, their playoff, their
so
power play was
bad.
terrible. I don't think
So
they had a playoff power play goal until the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I think you're right. It wasn't until the
Like-
final that they got one. Yeah, when they were blowing up Luongo.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's just ridiculous.
Burge, you got some studs and duds for us today or no?
I only want to talk about a dud, and I'm not going to specify it on.
Wow,
just the
leave it
last
to
2
Burge
weeks.
to only be negative.
Hey,
What a
The
surprise.
contrarian, I'm welcome back. Welcome back. And I'm going to harp on what I said earlier, and it's the goaltending. It's the goaltending of this team this year. Now, I will say that Jonas Korpisalo has been a nice surprise. I don't think anybody expected him to kind of step in the way that he has and play at least a decent level for a backup. Actually, I'd argue he's played pretty well for a backup.
Good stat line.
Mhm.
That's what matters. That's what I'm looking at, right? So nobody expected that. He was a throw into the Ullmark trade, and everybody was up in arms. I remember, Ace, you and I had some real debates about this. You were pissed. I remember you were pissed about Korpisalo coming here. He's actually played pretty well and has kind of helped stabilize that position when Swayman hasn't played well. And Swayman has not been great this year. And, we talk about the decision that they made, picking one or the other. Like, they made their bed when they didn't trade Ullmark before last season. They made their bed. They knew what was going to happen. You knew what was coming. I was the one saying trade Swayman when we started this podcast a year and a half ago. I was the one saying that there. But he's got to get himself right, and I don't know what it's going to take, whether he just needs to, they're just going to ride this out as a down season and take the off season and go through a full camp, full everything, and get back on track. But for this team to be successful going forward this year and in the future, he's got to get back to the level where he was at the very least, the last 2 years. If he doesn't get there, look out, that contract's going to be an albatross, and that's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, there's rumors of Jonathan Toews returning after getting healthy. Maybe we could just send him over to India for like a month and a half and he could do like some weird crystal healing shit. It doesn't seem to be working for John Tavares, but who knows? Maybe Jonathan Toews can teach him a few things and get.
Is that going to fix his ego, or is that going to fix his ego? I don't know about that.
Something's got to. All right. So before we wrap up, then this segment, we will wrap the studs and duds. So that's done. We do have some Bruins news to kind of break down. In addition to the games that we had going on, the Bruins did announce that forward Mark Kastelik was extended to a 3-year deal. So that was very exciting. I think that this deal, it's $1.6 million for a cap hit, which is very reasonable. I'm a big fan of cost-controlled fourth liners, especially ones that have a motor the way that Mark Kastelik has. You've heard us before with me and Jake. He's been one of our studs of the week a few times now. Him and his fourth line has been great so far. So it's great to see what was widely considered as just a throw-in piece in the Linus Ullmark deal flourish in his arrival in Boston. I think he's probably, I mentioned earlier, I don't think anybody's met expectations. I take that back. I think Mark Kastelik has met expectations and surpassed them. And I really enjoy seeing him in the Bruins uniform. And I'm glad that we're going to go ahead and see him as a Boston Bruin for the next 3 years. So shout out to you, Mark.
My neighbor lives down the street, I'm fairly sure. But, again, happy for the dude. You're right. He was a throw-in piece in that Ullmark trade. He came in, was really hot. Granted, I think he's now the most penalized player on the team. I think he's overtaken.
Took down Zadorov
here. Yeah.
Wow.
But, good for him that he's parlayed this into a good deal and he can kind of roost for a couple of years. That's like the ideal for a fourth liner. You don't want to be bouncing around from team to team. You want to find a team that like plays the identity you want to have and, stick with it. So credit to him. He should be very happy that he's done what he's done.
Yeah, big time shout out and really enjoying him as a Bruin. So non-NHL related hockey news that I think is worth a nice little humble brag. Got a few of our friends that listen from Canada. USA wins back-to-back World Juniors. I candidly will admit that this gold medal game was the first World Juniors game I've tuned into this year. It doesn't help when Don Sweeney shits himself and doesn't have a single prospect from the Boston Bruins in the entire tournament. Because I usually will tune in like Latvia when Dan Zlakmelis was playing, or Riley Duran on Team USA as a fourth line winger who he didn't even make the team this year, or whatever. I don't think it was Duran that was eligible. Was it Pelosi? I think Chris Pelosi was eligible for Team USA. He was one of the last cuts. Regardless, Bruins had nobody in the tournament, so I really wasn't super invested. I take it back. I tuned into the end of that Canada game to see if they were going to get knocked out, and I thoroughly enjoyed the result of that game against the Czechs, seeing Canada get knocked out. So Team USA goes back-to-back gold medals. And do you guys think that we're on probably the precipice of like Team USA's superiority at best on best across all levels? Because I think that this Team America, we talked about this a little bit before, Jake and I did, with the Four Nations rosters. I think Team USA is probably the best nation right now for best on best across the board.
Man, looking at the depth of this World Juniors roster with Gabe Perreault and Ryan Laird, which I loathe to say because they're BC guys, but the fact that They are. I'm a BU guy through and through, Burge. You'll learn
Me
this.
too,
I'm a
man.
BU alum, I'm a Terrier through and through and through and through and through. But
Right there with you.
you know, those guys admittedly are some of the best prospects in college hockey. The three of them, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Pro, James Hagans. They even had Teddy Stiga, who scored the game-winning goal. All the way down. Cole Hudson, Zeev Buim, Cole Iserman. Just the depth of talent on this roster is absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, USA had every right to dominate this, especially with what happened with Canada and the apparent discipline issues they had. They had a really talented roster, and they couldn't get their act together, apparently off the ice or on the ice for that matter. But
They were barely on the ice. From what I heard, the coach was barely even practicing them. I don't know how you expect to build a team systems wise if you never have them on the ice practicing. Like, these are tournament teams, guys. These are not teams that have practiced together for months. They're coming from all different teams, from all different organizations, and you're expecting all these kids to have that all have, you know, prominent roles in their teams to just click and play together like a team. That's not how it works. You got to get on the ice and you got to build chemistry. And their coach of Canada was like, "Oh, you know, they're tired. There's no systems for stamina." Doesn't matter if they're tired. They're hockey players. They're used to being on the ice. Get them on the ice, because you're not going to fix your shit unless you get them on the ice. So I think that's plenty of Canadians are sharing my opinion on that front. It's just like Team Canada is, and they're in trouble right now, at least at the juniors level.
A lot of bad news. and press
Not even
coming out
talking
for-
about the stuff
No,
off the ice.
but-
Like,
but
that's
this-
a fucking whole shit show. In
But
itself.
overall, it just screams disarray. It screams disarray for Hockey Canada. And if I was a Hockey Canada fan, I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah, and there's a note in here that this was the first back-to-back World Junior Championship for Team USA in the program history. So congrats to them. Congrats to the National Team Development Program for Team USA. As a credentialed USA Hockey member here, I do have to say, you know, really proud of my organization here for getting it done for the juniors. So well done. Well done. Burge is struggling over there. All right. Next week, Boston Bruins, where I have a stat here for you, actually. It's where is that stat? Oh God, where did it go?
I'll jump in on one more thing for World
Yeah.
Juniors before we hit next week. Freebird has to be the cockiest and best goal song that the US could have ever picked to use. Like, to me, the best goal songs drive you mad if you're the opponent. And if I weren't a Team USA guy, I would be just banging my head against the wall every time hearing Freebird. Like, it's just like top tier shithousery for picking a goal song.
I kind of feel like that about Toronto right now too. When the fuck did somebody decide that Panama is a good goal song? Like, did you notice that in that Leafs game? Panama.
I think that's a terrible goal song.
It's awful. It's so bad. I mean, it's
Terrible.
not as bad as that Hall & Oates one that they had like 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
Toronto, they can't figure out what the hell they're going to do with their
Yep.
goal song.
It's an interesting trend maybe up in Canada that they've got oldies trying to go in it, because Vancouver uses "Don't You Forget About Me."
Yeah, that's
And-
weird too.
Yeah,
They don't scream like hockey goal song. Like, I don't go to a
No.
hockey game and want to hear "Don't You Forget About Me." Like,
No, I want to go to like Anaheim, and I think they had like "Bro Him" by Pennywise. Oh,
well, it's retired now. They've officially retired it with the New Jerseys, but
Hmm.
yeah,
That was awesome. I love that. And then like you have Chelsea Dagger with Chicago. That's a classic. I mean, even Kerncraft 400 at this point, you can't change that for the Bruins. You can't.
Yeah.
Like,
if
it's
they
yeah,
change
that
that,
was-
I'm gonna be pissed. I'm
It's
gonna
yeah.
be
I
so
synonymous
think
mad.
with
Domination lives forever right at this point.
yeah.
I've taught my 4-year-old that song, so when I take him to the garden, he's gonna know it and sing it.
Yeah, I mean, when my daughters are younger too, they'd hear Zombie Nation come on and like Spotify, and then like before they could really Bruins. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right, that's Bruins. So here's that stat. I was able to track it back down. We're about to talk about not just the week looking forward, but we're going to talk about the next 5 games in general. The Bruins' next 5 games are all against playoff teams: Edmonton, Tampa Bay, Florida, Tampa Bay, and Ottawa. 9 of the 11 for the rest of the month of January are against playoff teams. So this is a tweet from Scott McLaughlin. We're going to learn a lot about this team over the next few weeks. And this month is not that soft schedule anymore for Joe Sacco that he had to kind of ease into the NHL head coaching duties again. It's about to get real for the Boston Bruins.
You're gonna find out. You're gonna find out a lot.
Fuck around and find out. That's right. Any closing thoughts for today's episodes, gentlemen?
Hang on for the bumpy ride. I feel like the shrunken head in Harry Potter. Take it away, Ernie. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
I saw that so many times when I fell asleep with that DVD in, and then like that was all that it showed on that menu to start the. Yes,
Oh
guys,
my-
I know that it was
That's
just that
creepy
guy.
as hell. That's creepy.
It was that dude the entire time, and they were on that crazy bus in London, and I'd wake up at like 3 a.m. because somebody elbowed me at the sleepover, and then that was still playing on the menu. So
I'd have nightmares.
That's one of
If
those
that was
core
going on
memories of
repeat.
waking up at like 3 a.m. to like that or Lowrider from the George Lopez theme song just
Yeah,
absolutely blaring on your TV.
or one of those commercials for Girls Gone Wild.
Oh
that
yeah,
was just on repeat at like midnight on
Yep.
whatever channel you left on. Yeah, just good.
I remember those
Good
days.
times. I look back
Or
on those days
the Greatest
fondly.
Love Songs of All Time album as well.
Yep, another
Yeah,
good
well-
one. Man, we're getting out the bangers right now. Ooh.
The PETA commercial. The arms of an angel. Oh God. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for tuning in to episode 63 of the Two Pat Stack podcast. This has been a really fun one to record. It's been great to be a full contingent of the three of us on here. We hope to do this more regularly and have all three of us on. And that way, we don't have to go to the Providence to call up people when we have somebody that needs to have miss a week or so. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will be returning to our regularly scheduled broadcast every Tuesday moving forward here. So like I said, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday, whatever you celebrate. Hope you had a wonderful New Year's. I hope the Bruins are ready to start their new year because they need to get it going. And we're going to go ahead and catch you guys next time. So until then, peace.
Peace.